wonderful internet world. It's your bearded brothers. We are back with yet another sports podcast. I, of course, am Matt.
I'm eating my lunch.
Chris is eating his lunch. Loki, the mascot, is on his shoulder. And we are here to do our monthly current podcast. We'll get back into weekly again, as we've mentioned, once football season really ramps up. We don't watch enough of the other sports for it to actually be worth doing a weekly podcast while football is not in season. We also have lives beyond this podcast that it's nice to be able to handle when we're only shooting this once a month. Our lives get a little hectic during the season.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We will deal with it. We enjoy bringing the content to you. You enjoy watching us. I think that's fun. All right. So we got news. I think first off, let's start with a little NHL news. And we'll talk some NHL stuff because congratulations to the Florida Panthers, who are now back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
I think I had a pretty good feeling that they had a good shot at going back-to-back, to be honest with you.
They did. I'm not... Look, am I mad that they won? Not particularly. Am I mad about how some of their players play? Yes. Am I also understanding that nobody plays hockey to make friends? Absolutely. If you're a Panthers fan, you're going to argue with me all day, but I think Bennett is dirty as a diaper. I can't stand that guy. And I think part of the other reason is because one of... is it the owners, or is it somebody connected to the ownership or to the front office staff? Their father is a big wig at NHL headquarters, and he's like an assistant VP or a VP of player safety or something. And he's literally, he's in charge of officiating or something, and like, that's why you almost never see calls go bad against them. And that's why whenever Sam Bennett does something and you go, that was very effed up, nothing happens. So, I will say...
That's just the assumption. We're not accusing anyone of anything.
That's an assumption. Please don't sue us. You won't get anything anyway. We're both pretty broke.
I have a whole $300 in my bank account.
I currently have about $600. So you'll get less than $1,000 to sue us. All right. Point being, yeah. So, jokes aside right now, though, congratulations to the Panthers. Now the Panthers have a different problem.
Good luck keeping all those players.
Three of the cogs, are on expiring deals. And you might be able to keep two of them if you're lucky. First off, defenseman Aaron Ekblad is on an expiring deal. And I'm sure the Panthers would love to keep him around, but they did trade for Seth Jones at the deadline, which means they may be planning to not have the money to keep him. Sam Bennett is on an expiring deal. And considering I believe he's still in his 20s, someone is going to be looking to pay him. Not because he puts up fantastic regular season numbers, but because when it's playoff time, he shows up in a big way. And
they're going to want to try to keep him for sure.
He did take home the Conn Smythe this year, which is, for anybody who doesn't know hockey, playoff MVP.
Yeah.
And
he's going to be the one player for sure that they're going to try to keep.
The Rat himself, Brad Marchand, who got traded to them at the deadline and played a very key role in the playoffs and the finals, is also on an expiring deal.
That's going to be a tougher one, I think.
Yeah, because he's much older now. I don't think he's going to get more than a 3 or 4 year deal just because of his age. I think he's like 37. I think he gets a 3 to 4 year deal, but there's speculation he has never cashed in, even when he should have.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's always signed very team-friendly deals with, like, Boston. There are now rumors...
Well, they might be able to keep him around then.
Maybe. But there's rumors that he wants $8 million a year for his last deal. In which case, they're not keeping him. In which case, they're not keeping him.
That's
but there are rumors. So Brad Marchand grew up a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. And he's done nothing but haunt the Maple Leafs his entire career.
That would be hilarious.
I would agree with you, if only because I want to watch guys like Steve Dangle and the SDPN crew twist themselves into knots to like Brad Marchand after all of the heartache.
I'm not going to lie. The only thing that would make it fun here is if he went there and sucked really bad and still ended up being the bane of their existence.
Oh, God. That would be terrible. That would be horrible. Oh, my God. But yes, so we do have, what are the Panthers? How are they going to try to keep that together? Can they keep it together? I'm pretty sure they can't. They might be able to keep, if Bennett stays around and signs a team-friendly deal, they might be able to keep Ekblad as well. And I think that's what they're looking for. But if Bennett wants the bag, Ekblad wants the bag, and Marchand wants the bag, chances are they can only keep one of them. And they're going to have to choose who they want to try to keep.
For sure.
Beyond that, there is the ongoing saga of Mitch Marner. And he is now a full-on free agent. Will he return to Toronto and sign a max deal with them? Does he want to go somewhere else? Will he go somewhere else? Will the Leafs even offer him?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know. I think you have to offer him, if only to not burn that bridge entirely.
True.
And I don't think you lowball him. But I also don't think you're trying to sign him, to be honest.
No. Unless somebody else doesn't really want him, yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, because at this point, and I like what a lot of Leafs fans have been looking at it, and they're saying, you've done this for 8, 9, 10 years or whatever it is in a row now, and it's not working. You've made it to the second round twice in the time frame of the Matthews era. Twice. Mm-hmm. And you've gotten beat both times by the same team. The Panthers.
Yeah, the Panthers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something's got to change at some point.
You had trouble getting out of the first round forever. Now it looks like you're finally progressing and commonly making it. In the last 3 years, you've made the second round twice. Mm-hmm. You went to 7 games in the first round the year you didn't. Okay. So you're starting to get out of the first round more frequently, but something's got to change. You cannot keep running it back with the same core.
Right.
And expecting different results. That's insanity.
I agree.
So that's got to change. Let me see here. Other news for hockey. Oh, a former superstar is attempting a comeback now.
Oh, nice.
Jonathan Toews of the Chicago Blackhawks, who has been out of hockey for, I want to say, 2 years now. Ever since he and Patrick Kane kind of got split up, bought out, whatever. He's been out of hockey. He got out of hockey during COVID.
Gotcha.
And never really got back in. Now he's been training. He says he's healthy again fully. And he's ready to try to make a comeback. We'll see.
All right. Yeah.
You're in your late 30s again. Well,
that's a tough thing to do. Yeah.
That's a very tough thing to do. So we'll have to see how much interest he garners,
if any. Yeah.
If any. Small news on the Wild front, and that is we have lost forward Devin Shore, who has decided to go play in Europe.
Hi. Oh, nice.
He signed with a European team. He will not be with our team anymore. Asked for his release, and we granted it. So, Devin Shore is gone. Meh.
That's what I was about to say. Meh.
We do have a lot of cap space this year, though. So, we're going to have to be... It's going to be interesting to see what we do with it, because we do need to re-sign Kaprizov.
I was gonna say we still need to pay. Yeah.
Kirill signed a bridge deal, and now he's more than earned the bag. And the Rossi situation is developing. According to reports, he wants the Matt Boldy contract, which is like 7 years, $7 million per. I don't think he's played enough to earn that, and neither do the Wild.
Yeah, it's a little high.
That's a little steep for Rossi, unfortunately. I don't like it. And now they're trying to see if there's a trade out there for him. Because he is an RFA.
Right.
So we still control his rights no matter what. It's just a matter of, can we find somebody that he would sign, that would be willing to sign a deal close to that for him.
Right.
And what can we get back in return? And I don't know if we're going to know very much. We'll have to see how it works. He might get traded at the draft.
It's possible.
That would not be, because we do not have a first-round pick, and if we could find somebody at the bottom of the first round who would be willing to give up a first-round pick for him, that would be something that I think we'd be interested in.
Right.
Or if we could find another young centerman that they would be willing, like a prospect and some stuff too. Right. We'll have to see how this all works out. So, but that's the major hockey news right now. Draft is the end of this month. I will watch that. I will give my report on it next month. Also, free agency, I believe, starts the 1st of next month, or the 4th. By the time we record again, free agency will have opened, and I will have taken notes on who went where, who signed where, and what trades have happened.
Fair.
So next month, you will get all the hockey news that is hockey news. Now we have some NFL news. Let's start with our good friends just to the east of us in Green Bay. As they have released cornerback Jair Alexander. I get it, but I don't get it. He's been injured. He's 29, I want to say. Yeah. And he's been injured a lot over the past couple of seasons.
He's been injured, and when he has been there, he's drawn a lot of dumb flags. He's a little bit of a hothead.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I get it.
But at the same time, they don't really have anybody to replace him. So...
Which is why I don't get it. Now, there were rumors that Minnesota might make a play for him. He did not sign with Minnesota, but he did sign with a team that wears purple. The Baltimore Ravens have signed him up, I believe, for like $6 million.
Yeah, they got him pretty cheap, yeah.
Pretty cheap overall, yeah. Which says to me, maybe there wasn't as much interest in him as we thought there would be.
I don't think there was. I think the rumors about us at all was pretty unfounded from my understanding, actually. It seems like
I don't think that we had any interest at all. I think that was pipe dream from people.
Yep.
And I don't think O'Connell had any interest in him due to the amount of fouls that the flags that he takes. I just
Brian
don't think
Flores
he would be good for the
O'Connell,
locker room.
Yeah.
I think KOC kind of said, I don't like that. I don't think he's good for our locker room. We're going to leave that alone.
Yeah, you can tell by the way that Brian and Kevin kind of work together. They're very much more of, we want players that are respectful and kind of want to be here and really work hard. And
Brian
Flores.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the GM, which is Quessy.
No, that's Quessy, yeah.
Yeah.
I think because Brian works with the defense, right? I think the two of them kind of talked it out.
I think they probably looked at it and were like, do we want to bring this to Quessy? And I think both of them looked at it and went, nah, doesn't fit.
Probably not worth it.
Not worth it.
Doesn't quite fit this the way we want to play football. Yeah.
John Harbaugh, on the other hand, looked at that and went,
that's exactly the type of player he likes.
That's what I want.
Yep.
So
that's exactly the type of player he likes. He likes those hard-nosed guys like that.
Yep, absolutely. And he generally has a way to get them to focus their temper into being productive.
Yep.
So I'm nothing but, I think that's a great signing for him. I think it's a great fit. I think that helps out a lot. Aaron Rodgers has finally ended his little saga.
Stint,
where he held everybody hostage for a little while and has now signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers as he was expected to do.
I was going to say everyone hostage, a.k.a. the Pittsburgh Steelers.
As he's been expected to do. I don't remember the terms of the contract. I know they paid him a really stupid amount of money for a year. I think it's only a year deal.
It's only a year deal.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone is saying this is his last year, which, from the sound of it, that's pretty much true.
I think that's highly accurate.
Yeah.
I was going to say now, to make people laugh, apparently he did get married?
Apparently.
That's the rumor, anyway. The lucky or unlucky girl has not yet been named.
Probably best to stay out of it, to be honest.
I'm not going there. And for her,
I fully agree. If she's an unknown, stay unknown. It's probably better that way.
I firmly agree with that. I think she should just keep out of the media, let him play out his final year of football, and just go on to the quiet life, because I think that's what is needed to happen. I don't think he would ever be a coach. I don't think he would go into the announcers.
No.
I think when he's done, I think he just wants to be done. He might run...
I think the best thing he'll get is still maybe showing up on Pat McAfee's show on occasion.
Yep, and I also think you could see him as a regular guest on McAfee, and I think he might run, like, summer quarterback camps for kids.
Yeah.
That'd be it.
Something like that.
Yeah. I don't think he's got any interest in doing the rest of it. Not going to work for NFL Network. Not going to work in a booth anywhere.
No, I doubt it.
The most he's going to do is be on McAfee.
Maybe you might hear about him doing high school coaching or something like that.
Maybe
because some people do that. Bridgewater's done that, so I could see it.
Yeah, I could see him doing some high school coaching in California somewhere.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would expect of him. He's not going to go be a college coach. I don't think he's got any interest in that.
No, not at all.
He might, when Cal calls and is like, "Hey, we're looking for a coach," he might sit in on the committee and help them select a coach whenever they need one.
Or something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, he's not. If they need to trot him in, to like, look who came from Cal.
Look who came for the home game.
Yeah,
it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. If they need him to meet like recruits and crap, like I don't see him. Yeah, no.
He just doesn't fit the prototype you would expect.
He does not, because I don't think he likes the media attention.
No, he doesn't.
He does seem to be
as
a
somebody
guy
who says he doesn't like the media attention, though, he does do a lot to try to get media attention.
Yeah, I'm just saying, though, like, there's things he also does that are just weird, like the darkness retreats, and I go away where I can unplug, and, like, if I saw him doing something unusual, he would move to the hills of Oregon where there isn't any signal, and he would build a cabin and farm.
Yeah, I could see it, dude.
That is totally
basically pull an Andrew Luck and just fall off the face of the earth.
Fall off the face of the earth. I could totally see him doing that. I don't think anybody would be surprised by it.
No, I don't think so. To be fair, you get that much media attention for that much of your life, you probably kind of want to just go away for a while.
I think that may be a contributing factor as to why he's a little bit...
A lot of quarterbacks seem to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say for him, I think that might be why he's a little bit off-kilter.
Maybe.
He's had a lot of media attention for most of his life, and
some
people adjust very well to it. Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, both of them adjusted incredibly well to all the media attention.
Heck, I mean, you could even look at, oh, you bitch, I had the name and then the bird chirped at me. Owner of the Broncos.
Elway,
yeah.
Not owner, but he's like president.
Yeah,
Director of football operations or whatever.
But he's taken to that kind of media attention very well when he was, Yeah.
And Aikman, on the other hand, as soon as his playing career was done, now he's in a booth, but he's behind the scenes. He's like a producer. Yeah.
Yep.
He does not want to be on camera very often. Yeah, Romo does call games.
He does. That's what I'm saying. Like he's kind of more front and center. And he's okay with it.
Aikman, on the other hand, was like, nope, I don't want any more media attention. I'm done.
Yep. I'm okay. Peace out.
Joe Montana.
Montana,
just Steve Young. Well, no, Young is still broadcasting.
Young's still around. Montana disappeared, though.
Montana just fell off the face of the earth. Warren Moon vanished.
Yep.
Just straight up, nope. I walked away. I'm not looking back. I'm finished.
Yep, I'm okay. Peace out.
Yep, there were a lot of guys like that who just
Hmm.
they disappeared. You know what? I got nothing but
Let's
love
be
for
honest.
him.
Let's be honest. Deion Sanders was gone for a while until he came to coaching.
That is very true. Now, do you know somebody who should probably stay vanished for a little while?
I don't know. Is he wanted for suspected murder?
I believe he is wanted for suspected murder,
Yeah.
and that would be
Yeah.
the poster child of CTE himself,
CTE.
Antonio Brown. Back in the news.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently, a warrant has been issued for his arrest. They are looking for him in suspicion for murder one.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
That's a pretty heinous accusation.
If you had that on your bingo card,
I certainly didn't. I just hope that he had fallen off the face of the earth. Turns out, he did, and then murdered somebody. Potentially, allegedly.
allegedly, he does get his day in court.
But the fact that his warrant's out is that's not a good sign.
Yep. I don't think that's a very good sign at all.
Ooh.
The only other semi-piece of news from this week, or from this month that I can think of, is two things, and they both involve Jason Kelsey.
Okay.
The first one is that he has admitted that he thinks, he is not sure, you cannot tell until after somebody is passed on, but he's pretty sure he has some CTE.
Oh, probably to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I mean, well, let's be honest. A lot of linemen, when you're banging heads constantly.
Yep, 100, and that's why he thinks, I'm pretty sure I've got some.
Yep.
So he has come out. He said that on his podcast, New Heights.
Probably not as severe as others, but yeah.
And apparently, it's been making the rounds in the meme pages. Some young woman got a tattoo of Jason Kelsey in a rather provocative pose.
Of course.
And where Jason's Kelsey would be, it's an eagle. It's a bald eagle.
Why?
I don't know. And his dad, whom he showed that to, said, has she had her mental health checkup recently?
She should.
She needs to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was I got a chuckle out of that looking at that.
All I can think of is, did someone lose a bet?
I don't know. Somebody needed to have something that horrendous put on them.
Mm-hmm.
All
Permanently,
right.
by the way. Nice. I mean, laser removal's a thing now, but still.
Quick NBA
Yes,
news.
Bird, I get it.
The finals are still happening. Thunder Pacers. Unfortunately, I
Not
don't.
looking great.
Not for the Pacers. Halliburton has an injured hamstring. May not play. If he doesn't play, I do think the Thunder are going to take it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not looking great.
No.
Thunder are probably going to win their first ever NBA championship
It's looking
behind
that
a
way.
guy who flops harder than James Harden.
Which is saying something, by the way, because James Harden flops like a fish.
Yep. Yeah, if you can tell, I'm not an SGA fan.
I don't blame you.
So, other news in the NBA. First off, KD. There's a trade sweepstakes currently for Kevin Durant. The Wolves made a good offer for him.
Yeah, I don't
But-
think it's going to happen, though.
No, it's not. Durant has no interest in going to play in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So
No.
that's not happening.
Not shocked.
Apparently,
It would have been interesting, but, yeah.
Apparently, I believe the big teams currently are San Antonio, Houston, and there's a third team, and I can't remember who it is off the top of my head.
Wasn't the Cavs, was it?
It wasn't the Cavs. It's someone else. I can't remember
Okay.
who. But there are three teams that I think Durant has said, I would love to go play there. So we'll have to see where he ends up. There's also the chance, people are talking about it, Giannis gets traded out of Milwaukee.
Yeah. I've heard those rumors. I don't get it, but I've heard them.
Well, if you have to pay him all that money and you don't have a lot of other money, how can you build a team around him?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I don't get it.
Yeah, so they're I don't know how they're gonna do that. Let's all laugh at the Knicks. Everybody should laugh at the Knicks. As they fired the coach that's brought them deeper to the playoffs than any other coach in the past, 20 or 30 years. And their first choice from Villanova, the coach of the college program Villanova, immediately went, nope, not interested, bye. They've then
Don't even talk to me, go away.
They've called Houston, Minnesota, and some other team about speaking to their head coaches, and all of them have been like, no, bye.
No.
You can't talk to any of our coaches.
Well, it's just because, it's just such a hostile coaching job. It just makes no sense.
It's James Dolan, man.
Yeah.
He owns the Knicks, and he's an imbecile.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No. Let me see here. Oh. It looks as though the Grizzlies are moving towards a full rebuild.
Yeah.
They traded off Desmond Bane and got a pretty good haul for him, including 4 first-round picks, a pick swap. Yeah. They got a lot for him from the Magic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's rumors circling that Ja Morant could be on the move, which, good. And somebody said it, and I liked it. These athletic guys that don't really... They're shorter, more athletic, but they don't shoot jumpers. They rely on getting to the rim. Ja Morant, Stephon Marbury, guys of that type, right? They're not a number 1. They're a 2 or a 3 in terms of scoring options. Because they require themselves, Russell Westbrook, they require to be able to get to the rim. They can't shoot a jumper.
Yeah.
And if they can't penetrate, and you can stop them from that, once their athleticism goes, they're done. So to me, Ja would do really good on a team that already has a 1, that already has a good jump shooter and a great scorer and a number 1 option, and he's a second or third option. But he's a point guard, so he'd have to distribute more, which he doesn't like to do. So that's going to be your biggest problem moving him, is either convincing him to play shooting guard, which he's too small for, or convincing him that he's going to have to pass more and be a 2 or a 3 guy and not handle the ball as often. Yep. Okay. And the last bit of NBA news, I believe they're the longest tenured ownership in the NBA, has finally sold its majority stake. The Buss family has agreed to sell the Lakers. They're retaining 15% minority ownership for now. They sold for $10 billion.
Shocking.
So yeah, that's a ridiculous number. And Jeannie Buss will maintain for an undisclosed amount of time her role within the organization.
Of course.
So, and the minority ownership is also for an undisclosed amount of time. It sounds as though that is a transition, and eventually they will sell all of that, and Jeannie will leave the organization as well.
Right.
Which will mark the end of the Buss era in LA. Which I find, again, that they've owned that team since the 60s or 70s or something.
Yep.
They've had that team in the family for quite a while. So yeah, that's kind of big news. And then the only MLB news that I think is worth talking about is the Boston Red Sox traded Raffy Devers.
Oh boy.
After he basically said he's a DH and he doesn't want to play first base or third base, so they traded him out to the San Francisco Giants. And when he got there, he said, I'll play wherever they want me to.
Of course.
Yep. Oh, God, the Red Sox, man. What are you going to do?
Almost as bad as the Rockies, man.
Oh, my God, the Rockies. Holy God, that's a can of worms I don't know if we want to open.
Not yet, we don't, but yeah,
they
that's a
are
rough one.
on record. They are on pace to be one of the worst teams. Like, I bring up the Cleveland Spiders, and for a little bit there, they were on pace to beat the Cleveland Spiders' worst record. They're not going to anymore, but they were on pace for a long while to beat the Spiders' record, which I was like, holy God. How bad do you have to be?
They're still bad as shit, though.
Oh, they're terrible. They're worse than the last year's White Sox, which I said may be the worst team I'd ever watched.
Yeah. Now you got a new one. Yay!
Oh, God. Thank God it's not the Twins.
Right.
If this were the Twins, I'd be wearing paper bags.
Just one of those things where I'm like, I'm glad I don't watch that very much. Oof.
Yep. All right. You wanted to rant before we get into the main segment here.
Yeah, I gotta do a classic rant.
Go ahead.
God.
Give me a Chris rant.
So first off, move bird. Just want to make it clear, I don't hate anybody. Hate is a very strong word. But I really dislike certain people, especially certain media individuals. And I get that, when the season isn't running, you gotta try to generate headlines and news, try to get people to watch. But the one thing I don't like is when you have to try to bury players off of pretty much no intel, none whatsoever. So that leads us to talk about one particular individual that likes to do this a little too much. And, yeah, let's just talk about Colin Cowherd. Let's just get it out of the way. We'll talk about Colin Cowherd. That dude is a professional hater, in my opinion. He gets paid to be an asshole. The only reason I want to bring it up is because most people have been in the universe as far as J.J. McCarthy is concerned we don't know much about him. We can't really say anything. Minnesota seems to really like him. He's got a good locker room presence. He seems like a natural-born leader. A lot of positive things. But as far as play is concerned, can't really say much. Even at OTAs, it's like, yeah, he looks fine in OTAs, but those are OTAs. That doesn't mean much. So you just don't have a lot of information to go off. But
Nope.
Colin Cowherd decided he wanted to buck the trend and do what he does best, which is basically say that J.J. McCarthy is A, nothing special, B, has no arm talent, and C, just comes across as not a good player. And his reasoning for this is the college tape. And he basically says that in Michigan, he was only ever asked to do one hard throw a game. So that means that he must not be able to do it. And I hate when fucking media people do this, because if we're going to have the prime example of that, just look at Justin Herbert. People said that about fucking Justin Herbert. Now look at him. Is he the best quarterback ever? No. But regular season Justin Herbert is pretty damn good. Playoffs, that's a whole bucket of different worms there. Bo Nix, exactly another person that people are like, oh, he's just a system quarterback. But what people seem to fail to understand is that in the Oregon Ducks and now the Michigan Wolverines, they play a system. The quarterback is asked to play a system and do what they can in that system. That doesn't mean that he can't throw the ball. This doesn't mean that he doesn't have a good arm. Is it the strongest arm based upon what we've seen? No, but it's certainly not a bad arm. It just comes down to that he was playing in the system he was, especially with the Michigan Wolverines. When JJ was there, they had a stud at running back. Of course they're going to be running the football all the goddamn time. It worked.
Blake the Great Corum.
Yeah, it worked. Why would you not do that? So it was very frustrating to hear Colin Cowherd just basically be like, Minnesota is going to be at the bottom of the NFC North, and it's going to be because of J.J. McCarthy, and he's not going to be any good, and they'll have to draft a new guy, and it's just like, dude, we have seen nothing. The fact that they're going to give him the keys. So here's the thing. I just saw an article yesterday about this. It is confirmed at this point that the Vikings were looking at keeping Darnold or Jones on a 1-year option as insurance. They were always planning to give JJ the keys to the car. And the insurance was in case he got injured. That's why Sam left, and that's why Jones left. Because they wanted better guarantees of being able to start. That's the only reason. And they were only going to give each one a potential 1-year deal.
And now our insurance is Sam Howell.
Exactly. So here's the thing. The fact that they were so ready to give JJ the keys has to tell you that they must be seeing something that we're not seeing. They obviously have faith in him. They obviously think he can be that guy. So why you want to go on on your podcast and just, or your media show, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and claim that he's no good, he's nothing, and the Vikings are going to have to draft a new quarterback in this next draft, I don't get it. I don't understand. If they didn't have any faith, you don't think that they would have tried to keep Sam Darnold a little bit longer? Really? Like, that's the most insane shit I've ever heard. So, no. I think wherever you're quote-unquote getting your intel from, saying that his OTAs aren't good based upon what we've seen, that's not even fucking true. I think you're out of your fucking mind. To say that they'll be last in the NFC North, I think would be shocking, to be honest. I think they're as good as Green Bay, and I think Chicago, they have a good chance of being able to beat. I think the only team that's going to be really hard is the Lions still.
Maybe, but with everything that happened with the Lions, can we still say
exactly.
that?
Who knows? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We just don't know. That division is still going to be very much a tiebreaker across, I think, all teams. I think all teams are going to be very competitive, or fairly competitive anyways. To say that we're the weakest team, just like, you just can't say that before the season starts. We just have no idea.
We don't.
It might be true, but it's just too hard to say with how close I believe all the teams actually are going to be this year. And they were already pretty close last year, so I just don't see that. Unless Jordan Love gets injured again or something, I think it's going to be a 4-way race, to be honest. I think all teams are going to be really racing to try to beat each other in the North.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the toughest divisions in sports this year.
Yeah, again, which it was last year until that injury to Jordan Love, and even then it was still a 3-way race for most of it. So I just don't get the hate for J.J. McCarthy from Colin Cowherd. I've heard a couple other people repeat those sentiments. I just don't get it. I don't see it. I don't understand it. Their claims are completely unfounded, and it just comes across as trying to gather some type of attention to get people to click and watch your fucking show.
Yeah,
and it
I
comes
was going to say
kind of disgusting.
At this point, what do you really have to talk about? So you got to drum up something to get it's clickbait.
Yeah, and to me it comes across as so obvious clickbait that it kind of disgusts me a little bit. I hate that shit.
I totally understand. But in the media world, content is king. You got to have content.
I get it, but that's why I'm trying to refute
that through
whatever.
College right now. I don't like it, but it is what it is. You got to say something that gets people to your channel.
I get it. I think there are other things you can talk about. Like, I feel like talking about the 49ers right now would be interesting because, gosh, you never know what that's going to be. And they pay Brock Purdy, so that's something you could talk about. You could talk about the Texans with C.J. Stroud. Is he going to have a bounce-back year, or was his rookie year going to be the best he was going to ever have? You have Jaden Daniels you can talk about and go, well, he had that one really good year. Is he going to be a C.J. Stroud next year? Is everyone going to just watch his tape and just know exactly how he plays? You have the Jacksonville Jaguars with a new head coach with Trevor Lawrence and going, man, is he gonna finally hit, or is this gonna be it? You got the Bengals and you got Joe Burrow and you got all the money in that offense. Is that just gonna be a motorboat race constantly? There are so many other things you could talk about, so many other controversies, so many other things. Heck, you could talk about Sam Darnold with the Seahawks and go, man, is that even gonna work? So many other things that you could speculate on that would actually make sense to speculate on. This does not feel like one of those things. This feels like you have nothing to go on, and you just were like, well, let's talk about something Vikings related. Fuck it. J.J. McCarthy's going to get thrown under the bus now. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
If I was to talk about anything, it would still be the Bengals and how bad they are at negotiating anything.
It's funny because, like I told you, I think they're making the right decisions for the wrong negotiating price.
And that's what it really comes down to. So, for those that are out of the loop on this, Shamar Stewart, whom they drafted in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
They have, for whatever reason, they want to insert contract language into his rookie year deal that voids certain years or payouts if he's injured or does not play or holds out or something. And that's not in and of itself unusual. They didn't put it in their last year's first round picks deal, but it is something we're seeing crop up more and more. In fact, this year, Abdul Carter signed a deal that has some language like that in it. Now, the difference is, with Abdul Carter, the Giants took half of his signing bonus and gave it to him all in one lump sum up front. Yeah. They went, here, we're going to... So since we're asking you to decide this, we're going to move this money here so you can get it now. Yep. So that way you don't get boned later. Rather than paying it out over the years. The Bengals don't want to do that. They want to continue to pay it out over the schedule of the contract. And if you get hurt and can't play, then that money is gone. Which right. I think that's the big sticking point for Stewart. If they were to negotiate and say, look, we'll give you like half of it up front, I think he might be willing to move on it. Because then at least he knows that he's financially secure.
Right.
But the way they're going about it is they don't want to move, and he's not moving. And what I heard is if they don't have him under contract by November, I want to say it's 19th, he will go into next year's draft.
Yep.
Their rights to him will be null and void.
Yep.
Which, come on, Cincy. Stop being stupid.
They don't have a lot of money to throw around at this point, so I get why they're doing what they're doing, but at the same time, like they just don't have the money.
And that's what happens when you pay two wide receivers ridiculous amounts of money and your quarterback a stupid amount of money.
The funny thing is, I don't even necessarily think that... I think the quarterback's worth the money they asked for, and I think one of their wide receivers is worth the money. Yeah. But the other one, I think they definitely overpaid.
I think they overpaid Higgins. I think I would have traded him or let him walk or something.
Yeah. 100%.
100%. I'd have gotten rid of him. Look, I don't think he's a bad receiver. I just don't think he's
not. He's very good.
I would have let somebody else overpay for him, like
exactly
Jacksonville or Atlanta. They like to overpay for They like to overpay for people.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's what I would have done, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of stuff their ownership's been doing lately. So
yeah, I get it.
All right, main segment that we're gonna do today. I have a list of all the NFL coaches, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down the list and we're gonna rank them on a hot seat scale, 0 to 10. 0 meaning there's no way they're going to ever get fired this year. In fact, most of these guys on the 0 scale they're only going to leave where they're at when they want to leave. I do have one exception to that, but there's absolutely no way he gets fired this year. I think currently where he is, if he killed somebody downtown, they'd just throw him a parade.
Yeah, I can... If it's the same coach I'm thinking of, that'd be hilarious, but I think you're right.
10 meaning, oh my god, it's on fire. Everything is on fire, and it's not okay. You might get fired before you get to training camp. So, I will give some explanations for mine. Chris is going to be doing his off the cuff. I don't know if he's going to want to give explanation. He probably will give some.
I'll give some.
Yeah. So we'll give some explanation for it, and then we'll wrap up, because I don't have anything else, and I don't think he does.
Nope.
So, main segment, we'll start with Arizona, Jonathan Gannon. Chris, what's your hot seat for Jonathan Gannon?
I would say I'd put him at a solid 5. I think based upon the team that they have, the expectations are there to have more success than they've had. But I think at the same time, I think they're also looking at Kyler Murray and going, maybe he's not the guy. We don't know yet. There's still a lot of questions. So I don't think he's quite super hot yet. He's not Inferno. But I would say that if, like, the end of the year, they're still kind of on the outside looking in at playoffs, I think next year he's definitely going to be on the very hot seat. But I think right now he's just kind of like, unless things go off the rails really badly, I think he'll still be probably around.
I put Jonathan Gannon solidly around a 4. Um, I don't think he's at a 5 yet, but I think there's now some concerns. The reason he's only at a 4 is because they are doing better than they have done in recent history. They are now kind of contending for the NFC West. Kind of. They're in a position where it's possible. I don't think they're going to. But they are now in a position where they could.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't... if the things go completely off the rails, they might give him a year to turn it around. I don't think they fire him this season. I think he'd get a year to turn it around. But, yeah, I think he's at a 4. I don't think he's going to be any lower than that for me. Moving on. Atlanta. Raheem Morris. Chris.
Like, I don't think it's a 0, but I think he's probably like at a 1. He did pretty good with a pretty bad team. They're kind of rebuilding now. Kirk Cousins is on the bench. They have Michael Penix, who seems like the next go-to guy. I think they have a lot of faith still going forward that Raheem Morris with Penix is going to be the next big thing for him. I don't think last year was indicative of how well he can coach. You know, Michael Penix came in late and still did pretty well. So I think he's still pretty cool at this point. A lot of things would have to go wrong for him to even start slowly heating up this year.
I have him at a 5, and it's utterly dependent on Michael Penix. If Penix does well, that drops. If Michael Penix struggles a lot, that's going to heat up quick. At least in my opinion. I don't really have any other reason for it. He didn't do terrible last year. He didn't do great last year. He had to deal with Kirk Cousins. Penix looked all right. I don't know, man. Baltimore. John Harbaugh. Chris.
Okay, so I'm going to give a reasoning here. It's going to be a little weird. I'm actually going to put him at a 3. And the reason why is because you have a championship roster who can't make the fucking championship. And at some point, that's going to break. That's my only reasoning. He's not super hot yet, or anything like that, but like, there's got to be a point where people start going, come on, dude. You have the roster. You have the players. You need to get beyond that fucking AFC championship game and get into that goddamn championship.
I still have him at a 0. He has won a Super Bowl, I think a couple of them, for the Ravens.
It was a while ago, but yeah.
It is a while ago, but I honestly think he's not leaving until they want him to leave.
I think it's only 1, by the way.
I think it is 1. He may have been an assistant or a coordinator on the team that Billick won with.
I think so, but he only won as a head coach.
But, you know, I think that I don't think they're going to get rid of him anywhere. You're constantly making the playoffs. You're constantly, like, in the hunt for the Super Bowl every year.
I get it, but that's what I'm saying is that eventually the hunt is not going to be good enough anymore.
I agree, but I think most people and the owners realize that there are external factors. You know, the refs being voodoo magicked into supporting the Chiefs all the time.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that at some point people are going to get tired of the constant, you know. We'll see.
Buffalo, Sean McDermott.
It's funny. He went from last year being on a hot seat to now this year, I think, being at like a 2. I think he's pretty safe as long as Josh Allen keeps playing well, to be honest with you. I think as
agree
long
with
as
you.
Josh Allen keeps playing well, he's got nothing to worry about.
I have him at like a 3. I don't think he's very hot. I think as long as Allen keeps playing well, but eventually you've got to, again, same thing with the Ravens. You've got to get over that hump.
Yep.
Eventually you have to beat the Chiefs.
Agreed.
Carolina, Dave Canales.
Boy, that's an interesting one because last year I think he was hot. I think this year he proved that he can coach. I'm going to put him at a 4. Only that high because that owner is obviously unhinged. But that's the only reason. That's honestly the only reason. I think he's got the ability. I think letting Bryce Young sit for a couple of weeks was the right call. Let him cool down. And then he came back even better. I think he's shown that he knows what he's doing with the younger quarterbacks, and he can get it done. You just got to give him time.
I have Canales at a 2. Again, because he, from what I saw, fixed Bryce Young. And I think that's worth keeping him around. As long as Young keeps playing well, I think and now you've got another weapon. He's finally got a really solid number 1 overall receiver from this year's draft in Tet McMillan. I think overall, you're going to keep Canales for at least another couple of years as long as Bryce Young keeps looking good.
100%.
Chicago, Ben Johnson.
I mean, new coach, he's at a 0. I mean, there's no way he gets even fired. Even if it goes off the rails, I don't think he's getting fired. They're going to give him a lot of leeway because of what he's done with the Lions.
Yeah, I don't give him a 0. I give him a 1. The 0s are reserved. Ben Johnson's a 1. The chances of him getting fired year 1 are practically 0. But
I think it is 0. That's why I put him at 0.
But I always leave room for something utterly unexpected to happen. Cincinnati, Zach Taylor.
For me, he's sitting at an 8. You have a good roster. I understand that the ownership is not making your life easier with their money and their decisions. However, when you have that good of a roster, especially in your offense, and you're still losing games, there's going to be questions about what you're doing. Also, who you're giving the reins over for your defense. Obviously, that defensive coordinator is not doing his job very well. And the fact that he's still around and you haven't decided to go get a new one speaks volumes of what you're doing. So, I don't know. I think there's going to be a point where it's like you look at this roster, you look at the talent you have on it, and you go, why aren't you doing more?
I agree with you. I have him at a 7, not an 8. But, yeah, I mean, not only that, but your high point has been making it to a Super Bowl but not winning.
Mm-hmm.
And you did beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. So that's impressive, but now those are starting to fade a little bit, and you didn't even make the playoffs last year, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start making the playoffs again. And you had Burrow all season last year. So, yeah.
And you had Jamar Chase, who basically almost triple crowned that shit.
Yeah, you guys got to do something. And I don't know what it is. I think you're overpaying T. Higgins. Maybe you go to your GM and you say, hey, we need to trade T.
I don't know, man.
Cleveland, Kevin Stefanski.
Okay. I'm going to put him at a 5. It's not entirely his fault, obviously. I think the GM has really screwed him over time and time again. However, knowing Cleveland and their fans, there's going to be a point where they're going to start calling for better management, and you know who ends up being the patsy first? Head coach.
I firmly agree. I also have him at a 5, and that's primarily because I don't know what Jimmy Haslam is going to do. Dude's a little bit crazy.
Exactly.
I do not know what he's going to do. If I had a better feel for Jimmy Haslam, I would be able to rank this more easily. But I think Stefanski is a great coach. I think he's a great offensive mind. And I think if you give him the tools, he can fix things. But when you take the reins out of his hands and you hamstring him and you say you've got to do this or you've got to do that, you kill him. And I think that's what's been going on for a while now.
I agree.
Dallas, Brian Schottenheimer.
This is another one of those cases where I'm going to put him at an 8. It feels weird because he's a first-time coach, but when you are playing for one of the most well-known brands in the world, especially as far as American football is concerned, all eyes are on you to succeed. And you are given a prime-time roster. If you can't make it work, I promise you by the end of the year, you're going to be gone, and he's going to be calling Bill Belichick.
100%. I put him at a 9 for that very reason. You've got a primetime roster. This roster is good enough to make a playoff run. You just need somebody who can control it. Is that you? Can you and the players be simpatico and make this happen? That, I think, is going to be the biggest question.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the last time these guys did really, really well was the Jimmy Johnson era. Why? Because they believed in Jimmy. They saw what Jimmy had done, and he understood the players. When he said they needed extra practice, they didn't whine. They understood Jimmy saw they needed extra practice. Exactly. All the coaches since, I don't think they've really had that
control. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Denver, Sean Payton.
I'm pretty much going to put him at a 0. I don't think he's got much to worry about. He took Bo Nix, which was not exactly considered a high-profile player, and made him look good, and I imagine he'll make him look even better going forward. And that was the start of the Bo Nix era with him. I think he's at a 0. I don't think he gets touched. Even if it goes off the rails based upon his first year, I don't think they're going to touch him.
Speaking of Sean Payton, somebody interviewed Drew Brees recently, and he could tell you who his first touchdown throw as a Charger was to, who his first touchdown throw as a Saint was to, and who his last touchdown throw was to. Tells you a lot about the kind of people that Payton likes.
Yep.
Speaking of which, I have admitted too. There's a chance. I always put it with a chance with Sean Payton because Bountygate, you never know.
Fair. That's fair, yeah.
That's the only reason why.
Outside of something crazy like that.
Outside of something crazy like that, he's not getting fired. But there's always a chance Sean Payton does something incredibly insane and has to be fired.
True.
Outside of that, no, he's not getting fired. Detroit. Dan Campbell, let's bite some kneecaps.
Oh, that's a fucking 0. He ain't getting touched. He is a saint among saints when it comes to Michigan Lions fans. He cannot. He would have to have 3 years in a row that are absolutely dog shit for him to get fired.
Yeah, right now he's an absolute 0. There's no way there. He's beloved in that city. They would take bullets for him. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Green Bay, Matt LaFleur.
This is gonna be a contentious one, but I think he's sitting at a 6. He's had some pretty good rosters. He has had some good players, and yet time and time again is coming up just short. And eventually that fuse for Green Bay, a championship fucking team over and over again, is going to finally start looking at him and go, dude, what's going on?
That's why I have him at a 7. There are already rumors circulating that the new CEO of the Packers has already given him warning.
Yep.
So I think if he doesn't do it this year and make a significant step forward, especially now that they've drafted a receiver in the first round. I don't like the one they drafted, but that's neither here nor there. Exactly. Point being, if you don't take a significant step forward this year, make the playoffs, and perhaps make a decent run, you could be looking for a new job next year. I'm not going to say that that's impossible.
Yep.
Houston, DeMeco Ryans.
I'm going to put him at a 4. I think the regression of CJ Stroud in that team from the previous year is pretty bad. I understand that comes from like a bad O-line, but the fact that you guys didn't fix that before the season started is pretty telling. And I realize injury bugs you can't control, but like that was a pretty bad regression, and I think people are going to be looking at you a little closer and going, hmm. And the fact that you also defended an incredibly terrible late hit on a quarterback also does not sit well with me. So
For me, he's at a 2. I don't think they're gonna fire him. I think,
no, probably not.
yeah, I don't. I don't even want to put him near an 50-50. Um,
He'd have to go pretty bad, I think.
He'd have to
It'd
be pretty bad,
like,
I think, for a couple of years for them to really consider that.
Probably.
Also considering that he's, played in Houston, was a big star there, everything else. I think that gives him some leeway.
Probably.
I'd like to see Stroud step. I don't know if he'll hit his rookie season numbers again, but I'd like to see him do better than he did last year.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm really looking for with him.
100%.
Indianapolis, Shane Steichen. Right?
I'm gonna say 7. I think, despite the fact that they've run into so many issues amongst players and stuff, some of that problem does fall on the coaching of being able to figure out how to put the roster together and to work a certain scheme, and he just hasn't done it. I think this is the year where they had to find a way to either make Anthony Richardson work or decide to pass on him and let Daniel Jones take over and get a decent season. You don't even have to have a good season. You don't even have to have a playoff season. Just want to show that, hey, this roster can work and I know what I'm doing.
I have him at a 6 for that very reason. I don't think he would get fired this season if they do bad, especially considering
pretty bad.
Especially considering the quarterback talent that's present in the draft. Yeah. Give him another chance to develop a different quarterback. If he fucks that up, then you probably have him gone.
Yeah.
I do think that this is the year where either fish or cut bait with Richardson. You've either got to find out what you've got with him, or if you stink this year, you have to just absolutely go all in on stinking. Because you've got to try to find a way to get that first overall pick to pull Manning.
Yep,
that's a name that's synonymous with your organization.
Interesting.
But yeah, that would be or Cade Klubnik or Drew Aller or any one of like 5 or 6
number of people.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 QBs I think that could be first rounders this coming year. Point being that you've got some work to do. Let's see what you can do with it. Jacksonville, Liam Cohen.
I'll technically put him at a 1, even though I really feel like it's probably a 0. The thing is, we still gotta wait to see what he can do. He's a rookie coach with a decent roster. He's got to do something decent with it, but I don't even think going really bad would get him fired instantly. He'd have to go basically 0-16 or some shit to get fired. I just think the odds of that are pretty much nil.
Pretty much nil. I think you've got enough. I give him a 1 as well. I think, your chances of getting fired are pretty slim. You've got 2 pretty good wide receivers. Well, 1 rookie wide receiver that we think is going to blow the doors off the league.
And the other one who...
Brian Thomas Jr. from last year, who was really good.
Yep.
And
also, like, sorry, I was going to say, also my fact is, if you let Urban Meyer a full year, I can't understand why you wouldn't give Liam Cohen the full year.
Yeah, I think you're going to let Liam have the full year, whether he gets fired at the end of the year. I can't imagine he will. I can imagine he should have, in my opinion, Jacksonville back in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what you want to see. If Lawrence finally steps forward and starts being what we thought he could be with the 2 receivers finally and everything else, and Cohen draws up good schemes for him, I think he's going to stick around for a little while. But that's going to be the key there. Kansas City, Andy Reid. I think we could both say at the same time 0.
It's fucking 0. He's not going.
He's not leaving until he wants to. Exactly.
Yeah.
The dude has so many titles in Kansas City that is just dumb.
Yeah. You'd have to have so many bad stinkers in a row, and even then, I think most people would just be like, "But it's Andy Reid."
But it's Andy Reid. You know how many titles he won us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on, the LA Chargers, Jim Harbaugh.
I mean, I'll technically put him at a 1, but I think he's pretty safe still. It was very clear last year was still kind of a partial rebuild. This year, I think, is going to be the real full run to see what that system's going to look like with the right types of players.
I also give him a 1 for that reason. If he wins a Super Bowl with them, he's going to be at a 0 because
Yeah,
It's the Chargers, and they've been thirsting for that forever.
exactly.
Um, the LA Rams, Sean McVay, that's
That's a zero.
that's a zero.
Yeah.
He's not
Yeah.
leaving until he wants to retire,
Yep. Pretty much.
or he wants to go to another team and try again. I
Yeah.
don't see it. Like, they'd have to be absolute dog crap for like
And even then, I just
5 or 6 years in a row. And even then,
Yeah.
I think everybody'd be like, he'll turn it around.
he's the genius. He's the young genius. Just fuck it. He knows what he's doing.
Now, Las Vegas, Pete Carroll.
I'm only gonna put him at a 1 just for the sake of it. I think he's pretty close to a 0. I think because of his age at this point, he'll probably retire long before they end up firing him. But there is a chance that for whatever reason things go off the rail this year and they just go, "Hey Pete, you want to take a back seat in the office and do nothing, and we hire a new coach?" Like,
I can
pull a
see
Seahawks,
it.
you know?
I can see it. Pete Carroll. I also have him at a 1, just because if things go completely off the rails. Hey Pete, sorry, this was fun, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, I think he's going to retire before they'd ever fire him. Moving along, Miami, Mike McDaniel.
This is the contentious one between you and me because I like Mike McDaniel. I think he's a good coach. I think he knows what he's doing, and I think he connects with his players well. But you look at what's been happening at Miami, and you just like, you kind of go, God, fucking hell, when are you guys gonna finally click and get over that goddamn playoff hump? For the sake of it, I'll put him at a 5 because like, he is kind of on the block of like a coach that clearly does well in the regular season and can get a lot out of his players, but by God, they cannot get over that playoff hump. And at some point, there's going to be a questions of like, do we need to bring in a new guy to get over this playoff hump?
And that's why I have him at a 10. I think they're already having those questions.
Maybe.
I'm not saying that he's a bad coach. I don't. So I like him as a coach as well. I think he's a good coach.
I mean, you look at that team before he came in, and it's like, it's very obvious.
Yeah, it's
like,
very
he knows what
obvious
he's
he's a
doing.
very good coach. The problem is the team is starting to age. Pieces of it are not what they were. The defense isn't doing as well as it should. And for whatever reason, they cannot play in cold weather.
Yeah.
I just don't know at what point people are going to be like, okay, you should be better.
Right.
Moving along, Minnesota, KOC.
I have him at a 0. I mean, to be blunt with you, they pulled off a Sam Darnold out of nowhere. The previous years, they had Kirk Cousins, and we're still doing good. And we've talked about teams saying that they would take a bullet for Dan Campbell. KOC's own players would take a bullet for him. So
I also have him at a 0. He hasn't brought us to the promised land yet. If he ever gets us a Super Bowl win, we'll only let him leave when he retires.
yeah, pretty much.
He won't have an option. We'll chain him into the chair. No, you cannot
Pretty
go
much.
coach this other team.
You cannot go.
We're going to plug you into a computer and make you live forever.
Pretty much.
New England, Mike Vrabel.
Honestly, this is going to be maybe a weird one. Normally, a lot of the new coaches have been giving a 1, but I think he's at a 0. He's played for New England before. He knows the system. The owners like him. I think he's pretty much untouchable unless like things go really off the rails, really poorly. And even then, based upon his Tennessee stint, I just don't see that happening.
Which is why I give him a 1 for one reason and one reason only. Gerard Mayo also played for the Patriots, coached for them in their own system under Belichick. They gave him 1 year.
But Vrabel's got much more to show for his time at the Titans. I
agree, 100% agree. But, you know.
Yeah. I get it, but I think Vrabel fits the system better.
New Orleans, Kellen Moore.
Okay, I'm going to put him at a 3, and I'm not going to put him up much higher, even though I think that there could be a chance. The only reason is because it's a first year, and you have what for a roster? Oh, right, dog shit. So I don't think they're expecting much out of this roster anyways, so I think the odds of him getting fired year 1 is really unlikely, because I think even management's looking at it going, Shit, if you go 50-50, we'll be really happy about that.
I'm going to give him a 7 just because you took some weird chances in different places in the draft, and yeah, your quarterback left, but you had a shot to maybe get another one, and you didn't, and then you went with Tyler Shug, who's older than the Jacksonville quarterback.
I think he still has talent, but
I do
my only
too,
concern
but
is he made of glass?
yes, that's the big deal about that. If you don't show some life to the team, even if you lose, you want to score points and show life.
Yeah.
If you cannot cause your team to do that, you're probably not making it out of your first season, but I think you should. You should make it out of the first season and get at least a second season and a chance to try to build this roster, because right now you got handed a team that you thought you were going to have Derek Carr on, and he retired right before the draft.
Yeah.
That totally boned you, especially if you didn't know it was coming. So, yeah, I think you get a little bit of a pass this year.
I agree.
All right, New York Giants, Brian DeBole.
Brian Dable, however you want to say his name. I think this is kind of a rebuild year, but they still want to see some life out of this team. I don't think they're expecting playoffs, but I think they're expecting life. So I'm going to put him at a 7 because last year was really bad. The year before that was rough. He only had that one really good year. I think they're kind of looking at it being like, we're on a rebuild, but you got to show us that you can be the guy to bring life to this team, even if we're losing. And he didn't do that last year. And so I think he's kind of close to that chopping block at a 7.
And that's why I have him at a 10. I think if they get off to a really bad start, if they can't find some sort of rhythm and consistency, even if you're losing, you want to show life on the offense and the defense. And if they can't do that, he's gone.
Right.
Again, it's the same feel to me as Kellen Moore a little bit, but worse because you did win a Coach of the Year and then you got boned.
Yeah.
The other team in New York, the Jets, Aaron Glenn.
I'm going to put him at a 1. I don't think there's much chance of him failing. This team's clearly in a rebuild still. They know that there's not a lot that he can do outside of just try to make the most out of the team that he's currently has. I think the odds of him getting fired is pretty unlikely. I realize it's Woody, but most of the time he gives his coaches at least 2 to 3 years to give it a shot. So I think the odds of him failing year 1 is pretty unlikely.
I put him at a 3 just because of Woody. And as Woody's getting older, he's getting a little more crazy. Like Jerry Jones. So
yeah, true.
I have no idea what Woody's going to do. That adds 2 points just for being Woody. But I don't think there's a good chance he gets fired. I think he'll be given a couple of years, more than likely. I think they gave Saleh a few years too long.
I think he was on his 4th year when they fired him, if I remember right.
He was definitely on his second first round quarterback.
Yes. That's true.
All right, Philadelphia, Nick Sirianni.
Okay, I'm gonna be weird. I'm not gonna give him a 0. I know a lot of people say that he probably deserves a 0, but that guy is so contentious and says so many dumb shit that I'm gonna give him a 2 just for his attitude.
I am giving him a 0 because I think at this point the fans that'll probably change in a year or two. This is my carte blanche of like. Most of my 0s are guys that can walk and retire when they want. This is not that. This is I just won a Super Bowl. That's going to write me a couple of checks for stupidity.
True.
True. So at this point, I believe he could murder somebody in downtown Philly and just walk away clean because they won a Super Bowl and they don't care right now.
Depends on the extent of the murder. If it's a black person, probably not. If it's a white person, probably.
Yeah, more than likely. Might be able to get away with a brown person, too.
Maybe. As long as they're not Italian. If they were Italian, that might be...
Yeah, no, not an Italian.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin.
You want to talk about somebody that could cause a murder and not get and walk away from it? Jesus Christ. I don't know how. He's at a 0. I don't know how.
So I also have him at a 0, but his actual should be like a 6. But he's at a 0.
He should be at like a 6 or a 7, but he's actually at a 0.
He's at a 0. He can't get fired. I think he's trying at this point.
Quite literally, he will retire when he wants to at this point.
Yes. I think he's trying to get fired, and they're just like, nah, you're okay.
It's fine. He's like, God damn it. Let me leave.
Seattle, Mike MacLeod.
If the Sam Darnold experiment doesn't work, I think he'll be in a hot seat, but I don't think it's likely this year, so I'll give him a 3. Just simply based upon you are taking a chance. And if it doesn't work out, you will be burning, but I don't think it'll be enough to call for his head yet.
I agree. I also have him at a 3 for about the same reason. If this works out, you'll be a 2 or a 1 easily, especially if you make the playoffs. If it doesn't, your seat might heat up, but you've got a couple of outs, and maybe you find yourself a rookie quarterback that can come in behind Darnold. You let him sit for a year or 2.
That's what they got Jalen for, so.
Huh?
That's what they got Milroe for.
Yeah, and you've got Milroe. You've already got a guy that can sit behind Darnold. You've got a couple of years. If you could develop Milroe, maybe you look good.
Maybe you'll still be okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that's a bad idea. San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan.
I think at this point he's out of 0 territory for me. I think he's at like a 2 because I think enough people are getting kind of sick and tired of the San Francisco flop failing fish. I get that that's not all his fault, but at some point you have to look at it and be like, Jesus Christ, dude. You can't get over that goddamn hump, can you? You're outside of the Super Bowls at this point. I don't think you have a chance this year based upon that rebuild you just had to do. I think that's one thing that'll keep him safe this year is the fact that they are in an obvious rebuild. But, man, if this rebuild goes sour on him, he might be looking at the door sooner than later.
I have him at a 3 for that very reason. At some, like last year, okay, get it, you had a lot of injuries, but, dude, you put the team together. And then you had a lot of animosity in the room. At what point is that your fault?
Right.
Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles. Bowles.
I hope it's not Bowles. I'm gonna say a 2. I think he's overall pretty safe. Baker's been playing well. As long as Baker continues to play well, I think he'll be completely fine. Now, if Baker starts to play poorly, now we got questions. But as long as his seat is kind of, in my mind, kind of resident on how well does Baker play.
That's why I give him a 5. I don't think Baker's going to play bad, but I'm also worried about his defense. If that starts to leak and they can't make up games and Baker starts pressing with the gunslinger mentality, maybe you got to let him go.
Maybe.
So, Tennessee, Brian Callahan.
I'm going to put him at an 8. Solely because even though I know you got a new rookie, last year was dog shit. If you get another dog shit year with your first overall pick, I think you're going. And I think they're going to bring in the next guy that they think can basically build up this supposed superstar.
I 100% agree. If you can't get Cam Ward to... Even if you lose games, the point is to make Cam Ward look good. If Cam Ward looks as lost as Bryce Young did his first year, you're gone. Because they'll bring somebody in that can make Cam Ward work. That's your entire purpose right now. So that's why I have him at also an 8. If you screw this up, like you did Levis, you're done.
Yep.
Washington, Dan Quinn.
He's at like a 1. I would say 0, but they need to do a run back for that to be a 0. Based upon where Washington was at and where they went afterwards, I realize you can't put that all on Dan Quinn, but let's be honest. Nobody expected them to make it as far as they did. And just with that alone, I think he's earned at least another year, and if they do another run back season like that, I think he'll be at a 0 next year.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's at a 1 now. I think he's fast approaching 0 territory. As long as they look good again this year, make the playoffs, make a good run, he'll be at a 0 next year. Then Washington won't want to let him go, considering how garbage they've been for so many seasons.
Exactly.
Everything is going right, and they don't want to jinx it.
Exactly.
Alrighty. So, I think we mostly agreed. There's only a few guys where we were pretty far apart on. But we both have our reasons for that. We'll have to see how this season goes. I don't have anything else. Next time, we'll talk some draft, and NHL draft. We'll talk some NHL free agency. And you know what? Maybe we'll do... it'll be July next time. No, we'll save that for another segment unless we need to. I was going to say season hot potatoes, because I've got a couple that are brewing in my head.
Yeah, we'll probably save that for early August.
I was thinking early August.
Before the preseason starts.
Yep,
and we'll also have to do our preseason. Did we do our preseason rankings? I don't think we have.
We have not done our preseason.
We'll have to do those as well.
We'll have to do preseason rankings in August at some point before the preseason begins. And then we'll do post-preseason rankings, which will just be preseason rankings, I guess.
Weird, but yes.
You got pre-preseason rankings and preseason rankings.
Preseason rankings, yeah.
And, well, those are 1 to 32s, and then the regular season will start, and you'll see us every week. As we know, it all starts in September. So we've only got a couple more months, and football is on its way back, and we will be happy.
Yay!
Yay! In the meantime, we hope that all of you have a great month. Put your mind to what's important to you. We believe you can do it. You should believe in yourself as well. And what we'll say till then, because I don't think we'll see you beforehand, happy 4th of July. And stay bearded. And peace out.
Ka, bitch!